Welcome to the Mind Vault. If you've ever wondered why you do what you do, this channel is for you. We unlock the psychology behind your patterns, habits, and thoughts.
Have you ever just looked around and felt like something is deeply wrong with the world? You know, that for all our incredible technology and wealth, we're somehow getting sicker on the inside? Today, we're going to dig into that feeling. We're going to explore a diagnosis of our time, looking at the sickness of modern society, and maybe even the sickness within ourselves.
The historian Will Durant absolutely nailed it with this warning. What he's saying is that the real threat isn't some outside enemy. It's us. It's the rot that starts from the inside. And you see this story play out again and again through history. Rome, you name it. The biggest danger is always self-destruction.
So, that really brings the question home for us, right? Are we seeing these same symptoms today? Are we in the process of destroying ourselves from within? To figure that out, we have to kind of become detectives, looking for clues, not just in the big headlines, but in the way we live, in the way we think, and in the way our society is structured.
Now, this isn't a new idea. For more than 100 years, you've had brilliant minds like Oswald Spengler and Carl Jung warning that something was off. They saw a spiritual decline in the West, a culture that was losing its energy, its purpose, basically entering what they called an age of decay.
And what's really wild is how the warning signs are always the same. Historians like Glub Pasha studied the life cycle of great empires and found this incredibly predictable pattern. As they get rich and powerful, they fall into these traps. Moral standards drop, everyone becomes cynical, pleasure-seeking takes over, and money becomes the only god. Does any of that sound a little familiar?
But to really get to the bottom of this societal decay, we've got to zoom in. Because the sickness of a whole civilization, well, it starts with the sickness of the people inside it. So let's ask a tough question. What is the psychological state of modern man?
Okay, so stick with me on this, because it's a huge idea from the psychiatrist Ian McGilchrist. He argues that our whole society has become dominated by the left half of the brain. That's the part that's analytical, that likes to break things down into tiny pieces it can control. The right hemisphere, on the other hand, sees the big picture. It's where our empathy and intuition live. McGilchrist calls the right hemisphere the master, and the left its emissary. The problem? The servant has started acting like it's the boss.
And this is what you get. Our world, with its non-stop obsession with efficiency, data, and control, it's a perfect mirror of that left brain dominance. We've gotten really, really good at taking the world apart and manipulating the pieces. But we're losing our ability to feel it, to understand our place in it, to actually connect.
So, when our world is all about external control, it does something to us on the inside. The great psychologist Carl Jung had a term for it: psychological deflation. It's this deep feeling of being powerless, small, insignificant. And when we feel that way, we don't just sit there. We unconsciously start looking for that power somewhere else, maybe in a strong leader, or more often, in the all-powerful state.
And what makes this inner weakness even worse? Our obsession with being comfortable. As M. Scott Peck pointed out, we're taught to avoid pain at all costs. But facing problems, going through what he calls legitimate suffering, that's how we grow. That's how we build strength. By trying to engineer every challenge out of our lives, we just become more fragile, more dependent, and even more deflated.
Okay, so you've got this inner psychological weakness, and you combine it with the craving for comfort and safety above all else. You can probably guess this has massive political consequences. When an entire population starts looking for a shepherd to take care of them, the stage is set for a whole new kind of control.
And get this, over 150 years ago, a guy named Alexis de Tocqueville saw this coming. He warned of a soft totalitarianism. This isn't the old-school kind with secret police and brutal force. No, this is much more subtle. It doesn't need to break your will. It just softens it. It guides you, manages you, and eventually turns the whole country into, in his words, a flock of timid and industrious animals with the government as its shepherd.
So how does a state do this? Well, it goes after the things that give us strength and independence. Think about it. The family, churches, local clubs, community groups, these are the natural barriers between you and total state power.
As these institutions get weaker, we become more isolated, more alone, and way more dependent on the state to give us everything, from our identity to our sense of security.
And let's be clear about the end game here. The sociologist Robert Nisbet put it bluntly. Breaking down these communities isn't some accident. It's a strategy. The ultimate goal is to rip out the very roots of our will to resist, so that challenging the system doesn't just seem hard, it seems impossible.
And the whole thing is held together by this weird illusion, which the Czech writer Václav Havel called the panorama of obedience. He told this story about a shopkeeper who puts up a political sign in his window. He doesn't believe in the slogan, not at all, but he does it because he sees everyone else doing it. It creates this powerful illusion that everyone's on board, and suddenly, just going along becomes the easiest, safest thing to do.
Okay, so that is a pretty bleak diagnosis, isn't it? But, and this is a really big but, every sickness has a potential cure. And the cure that's being proposed here isn't about some new political party or a 10-point plan, it's something much more radical. It's an individual act.
So, if that's the sickness, if conformity and dependency and obedience are the road to ruin for both us and our society, then what's the path to health? What is the antidote?
It's all right here. The philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson just lays it out for us in 6 simple words. The cure, the antidote, is non-conformity. It means refusing to let the crowd, the culture, or the state tell you who you are and what to think. It means making the terrifying but exhilarating choice to be an individual.
Now, this is not the easy route. Not at all. It starts with the really hard work of looking inward, of facing your own shadow, all the parts of yourself you'd rather pretend aren't there. Then it means you have to stop running from problems and start embracing suffering as the thing that makes you grow. And finally, it demands that you find solitude, that you step away from the noise of the crowd long enough to actually hear your own voice and find a purpose that makes your life mean something. So in the end, it really just boils down to these 2 paths, a choice we all have to make. You can be the conformist, living for likes and approval, running from anything that hurts, and ending up totally dependent. Or you can be the nonconformist, guided by your own inner compass, seeing challenges as opportunities and becoming a whole, self-reliant human being. One path is a kind of slavery. The other is freedom.
And Carl Jung leaves us with this really deep, powerful idea. He said that without being anchored in God, we can't resist being swallowed by the mass. Now, you don't have to take God in a traditional religious sense. Think of it as being anchored to something bigger than yourself, a transcendent purpose, a core truth, an inner value that holds you steady when the winds of public opinion start blowing. Without that anchor, we're just driftwood.
So it all comes back to us. The health of our world isn't going to be fixed by some policy or politician. It's the sum of billions of individual choices. The sickness might be profound, but the power to heal lies right here, inside each of us. So the final question isn't for me to answer, it's for you. Will you follow the crowd, or will you find the courage to create your own path?
If this opened your eyes, imagine what else is hiding in your mind. Don't forget to subscribe for weekly episodes that decode your brain, one pattern at a time. And if something clicked today, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, stay curious.